Are you wanting to create a highly prosperous photography business doing what you love? Or maybe you have a great business already and want to up your game? Then you're in the right place. Master craftsman photographer Lucy Dumas and her guests are here to support you on your journey. Now here's your hostess and tour guide, Lucy.
Without continual growth and progress, such words as improvement, achievement, and success have no meaning. And that's from Benjamin Franklin, who certainly improved, achieved, and had success. So welcome again to The Profitable Photographer. I am super excited. It's a Monday morning, and I'm trying to get my brain cells in gear. And I have a lovely guest to introduce you to, somebody that we both will get to know for the first time. Before I do, I would love to offer you an opportunity to have me review your website, or if you don't have a website, but you have Instagram or something else, review that, or take a look at your price list. And all you need to do is go to lucydumascoaching.com, Lucy with an I, and you can either fill out the form or you can schedule a quick chat appointment. So please do that. There'd be no pressure. I just love to connect and I love to support people. All right. So let me tell you about the lovely Ms. Donna Edman. She is an award-winning portrait photographer with a passion to honor people and encourage them to share their legacy. Her ability, her superpower, is helping people feel comfortable, and the results with the portraits capture their authentic self. She's in Fullerton, California, so people that don't know the greater Los Angeles area, she's there, not too far from Disneyland, right?
Right.
Yeah. And she has a lovely book you might want to check out on her website, Women of Wisdom, Honoring Their Grace, Strength, and Beauty. She also loves to teach small groups to be better photographers. So that's fun. Hello, Donna. Thank you for being on my show.
Hi, Lucy. Glad to be here.
Hi. So just a little quick, I know you started your business in 2014, but in a nutshell, what led up to that?
I was a social worker, and I was in IT and back into social work. And when I retired the second time, I picked up a camera. And the camera I picked up was our daughter's camera that we had given her for her birthday. And I kept borrowing it until she said, well, I probably would use it, Mom, if it was with me instead of you. So that was my new art. I've always done something art-wise in my life, but I thought when you grow up, you do business. So I've done business. So I've done business as a social worker, is also in a corporate world. I'm in IT. So taking all of those things, when I retired, I wanted to just photograph things that are beautiful. So I think as most people, you take your camera out and whatever you're attracted to, that's what you photograph. And people kept asking me if I could create their portrait for business, a business portrait. And I said, I don't know what I'm doing, but sure, let's give it a try. I had no idea what to price it, anything. And they kept referring people to me. So because I kept getting referrals, I figured, well, maybe there's something here. Maybe I should learn what to do. So I went to a photography school here in Southern California for 2 years to study just portraiture. And so that was 2014. I was finishing that up and decided it's ready to start a business. So I took the business background that I had and just adapted that to a new business.
So you answered my question. I was going to ask how your background has supported what you're doing now, but you already answered that.
Well, and I've had other businesses as an entrepreneur as well. So it's, knowing marketing, lead generation. It's just a different way of a different business.
Right. So what kinds of art have you done besides photography? Are there mediums that you've worked
Yeah,
in or dabbled in?
I've always done something. I never thought I could draw, so I never thought I was an artist. But I should think back now. I did weaving, I did clay. I especially enjoyed ceramics and clay. Just other things.
Mm-hmm.
Even as a teenager, I would clip pictures out of magazines, because I thought that those were really pretty. I didn't know what to do with them.
Mm-hmm.
So I was always interested in visual art. Enjoy museums. Enjoyed looking at art in detail. Just didn't think I was an artist to create it.
Right.
So it's really cool now to call
it is.
For me to say, hey,
I'm an artist. Yeah. So we have that in common, Donna. I was an artist in search of a medium, and I found mine in my late 20s, which was photography. I painted a little bit. I like to watch, I can't remember what it's called. There's a TV show where clothing designers compete. It's slipping my mind now. And I love to watch that. And I realized I was designing clothes when I was in high school because I needed to sew, or I would just sketch them just for fun. And I took ceramics in college, and I still miss that feeling of taking a lump of clay and sticking it on a wheel and moving your fingers up and having this thing emerge. It's so sensual and organic, right?
Right. It's like petting. It's like petting a pet.
Yes, only it's clay. Yeah.
Very soothing.
Yeah. I've also been realizing at this point, I think when we have had lots of, what would we call it? Cycles in our lives, when we're a little older, it's fun to look back and see how everything has a common thread.
It fit together, didn't it? Even though we thought it was this wicky wacky path, to get from there to here.
So many things. I've looked at my father's career as a pastor, and when I was doing weddings, I realized, I'm working in churches on the weekend, like Dad. And the most recent in having this podcast once a week is realizing, I have to have a sermon topic like Dad.
Right.
But then the most recent, I have a little vacation rental. I live in a really cute neighborhood in South Park, but near everything. And I realized my first big career was running a business in the San Diego airport. And my clients were tourists. Yeah. And my clients are tourists now. So that's the fun thing about being able to look back, right? Yeah. Okay, but enough about me. So one of the things that is your superpower, you've mentioned, is that you know how to make people feel really comfortable in front of your camera. So first of all, I want you to talk about that. And I've noticed that my guests or my listeners appreciate doable, actionable steps.
Right.
So if you've got some of those in your brain, I'm sure you do. We would love to hear that. But first of all, what's the core of helping people feel comfortable?
I think it comes from my social work background. First, it comes from me personally. I just love to connect with people and hear their stories. But in social work, there's just techniques of helping people feel comfortable. It's relaxing. If I'm relaxed, people are relaxed. It's really being engaging and truly interested in what someone's saying, right? So in a portrait session, it's not stand in front of the camera and smile. It's let me get to know you, right? And as I get to know you, I'm clicking, right? So there's a bunch of tools in my toolbox that I use. A more recent one has been music. So if people are taking a little while to feel comfortable, and I've used all my interpersonal skills, right? I'll say, "What's your favorite music?" And I'll just put music on, and I say, "Just listen to the music. Just listen to the music, and pretend I'm not here." So sometimes I'll have them look away and listen. Sometimes I have them close their eyes and listen, and then eventually 1, 2, 3, open your eyes. Right. And that's the really, really more authentic portraits if some people are comfortable. And recently, I had a client that was just wide-eyed in front of the camera, just startled in every look. It's like, I used all my tools, I used the music, used everything. And I said, what do you do to make, what gives you joy? Which is another one of my questions that I ask. Because as people are thinking about what gives them joy and they feel it, it comes out in the muscles around the eyes. Right? So it's not about the smiling and the teeth and the posing.
Right.
It's experiencing joy, right?
Yes.
That authentic feeling.
Yes. So I want to pause one sec. Did you hear that go by?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay. Oh, this mute is really good for outside noise.
So can you hear my dog scratching?
No.
Okay.
So what you said about the muscles around the eyes. I watched a PBS show about the face. And you may know this, but my listeners may have never heard this. We have 50 muscles in our face, and every thought moves a muscle and communicates to the person looking at that face what they're feeling.
Right.
And they showed examples of like the salesman where it looked like they were smiling, but something made you not trust them.
Yeah, the eyes are dead.
It's because the muscles around our eyes and the muscles that pull the corners of our mouth up are involuntary. So it comes from feeling something or a thought. And so I love what you just said is you give them something to think about that those involuntary muscles move. And then as we're creating a portrait, and I also have to acknowledge that clearly you have the ability to notice when that happens, because I've watched photographers working or teaching, and that's one of my skills too, is that noticing when that essence comes through. And I've seen them click just after the moment that I felt was the authentic moment. Now, I'm sure their work was just as great, but yeah. Did you know that about the 50 muscles?
I did not know about the 50 muscles. Yeah. That is so neat that you validated what I was thinking, right?
Yes, exactly.
And I think the other thing is I'm an intuitive person, so I can feel what they feel. So I wait until I'm feeling that kind of feel, with them.
Yeah.
So it's connecting the intuitiveness with clicking at the right time, just as you said, Lucy, clicking at the right time. And not every click is perfect, so you're just clicking a few times. You try to do it a few times, right? But I think listeners could benefit maybe from having that whole concept that as we think, we feel, and then it comes out in the muscles around the face.
Right.
I'm looking for the ones in the eyes. And I tell people, don't think about the pose. Don't think about the teeth. Don't think about the smile. It's not what that's about. It's about the eyes.
Right. One of the hardest things in my background, kids are my specialty. Although eventually as I matured, the little tiny babies became older and older and older. And then pretty soon I was doing high school seniors and weddings with the same families. But let's see, I just went down a little bunny trail. Let me reel myself back.
Well, have a thought about
I'm sorry to interrupt. But the hardest thing for me is those kids that have gotten the cheese face.
And their parents say cheese. Their parents tell them, say cheese.
Cheese does not make your eyes sparkle, does not make those involuntary muscles around the eyes or the pull up the corners of your mouth. Like there's no feeling in cheese.
Right.
So I have a couple of words I use, but are there some prompts or things that you use?
Yes, but what are the ones to use?
The word yes.
Yes.
Because when you say yes, first of all, it's a s, so that's a little brightening. But also the word yes gives you a feeling. Yes. And then my emergency word is monkey.
Key. Yeah.
And because it's kind of a funny word. And when people think about monkeys, they're kind of funny. And then if they're really like the person you were mentioning where it was hard to get anything, then if I start making monkey noises, it opens that up. So that's something I discovered, that ooh, ee, ee. And also I will have people make faces without me taking pictures to loosen up those muscles.
Yeah.
I'll tell them, just do this. and I'll hold my hands. I'm not going to take the picture. And then that relaxes the muscles in the face. So I'm doing I'm helping them warm up and such. So are there some prompts and things that you do?
Yes. Well, you're just talking about the Lucy face, if it's just kids and the parents are there, I'll have them stand behind me, right, and do something goofy, right?
Right.
The kids are seeing mom or dad doing something goofy, so they can just genuinely laugh that mom or dad are doing something goofy. But for kids also, I have them jump and spin and do action. And really for adults as well, I don't have them jump. But I might have them spin if they're in the studio where they're not going to trip, right? So they might spin, and I'm saying, this is how you spin. You look at me, right? You spin, you keep looking at me, and then you turn your head. And they're so busy figuring out how to spin and not fall down and look at me, and they're having such a good time, right? That when they come around as I'm clicking, you get these really genuine expressions, because it's not about the camera anymore, right? It's about them spinning and having fun. Right. So that's the whole thing. So kids as well as adults for doing that. And back to the man with the white eyes. And I asked him what gave him joy. He said playing music. And I said, what kind of music? A guitar. I went and got a guitar. Right. Those were the pictures. Those were the portraits that were the most genuine for him, when he was actually playing. He wasn't thinking about being, in front of the camera. He was just enjoying playing music and looking up once in a while. Right.
Got it.
So it's anything to distract people from looking at the camera and smiling.
Right.
Whether it's what they're thinking or what they're doing.
Right. So do you know about mirror neurons?
Tell us about that.
Mirror neurons. So this goes with what you said about you relaxing. So mirror neurons are things that we exchange. They're actual chemicals that, I should get the definition, but like if I'm warm and relaxed, there is something that I don't know if it's on a vibrational level. I don't know how it happens, but your mirror neurons react to that.
Yes. And
respond. Now, some of us, like I'm also highly intuitive and sensitive as you are. And if I'm watching like America's Funniest Video and somebody falls on their behind, I actually get a jolt of electric pain in my tailbone. And that's a mirror neuron. So I'm sure your warm expression helps people feel that as well. And then they are warm and comfortable. And, if we're gruff and whatever, people are going to respond to that. I never thought of this before, but when we've got a difficult client, those mirror neurons may make us a little nervous or a little uncomfortable for a while, trying to figure out how to get them comfortable. Can you relate to that? Like if the dad's really grouchy, we have to monitor our own reactions to that, right?
Right. Yeah. And it's neat that you gave a term for that, because these are all things that, like I had said at the beginning, that I'm comfortable and relaxed. People are comfortable and relaxed. It's just exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I genuinely enjoy photographing people. And I set the expectation for parents that let the kids just be themselves. Don't expect them to stand in front of the camera and smile. Maybe they do that this year. Maybe that'll be next year. Maybe that'll be 5 years from now. Right. So just let them be themselves. Just enjoy the process. And sometimes when the kids are just really having a hard time getting anything that's like a normal face,
Mhm.
I have the parents do this exasperated face picture, with them. And then everybody just laughs and we just go on, right? So
Right.
they have the experience of having that exasperated face look picture to see later that makes them laugh.
I love it. I love it. So especially allowing kids to be themselves rather than trying to fit into a little
Well, the
expectation of the perfect smile.
right. And the perfect child, because kids aren't perfect, and it depends on their age and their personalities, they are who they are. And so I think it helps just to have the parents' expectations set ahead of time.
Got it.
So during the consultation, when I know I'm going to have kids that are little, that's just part of the conversation. And
right.
Just let them don't, and I've seen everything. I'm a mom, I'm a grandma, and I probably have seen everything. And it's all good. I'm going to enjoy it no matter what. So I hope you do too. Right.
I love that. I love that. I often, if a child is being a little challenging or the parent is expressing their frustration, one of the terms I use is they're just doing their job.
Say it again.
They're just doing their job.
Yeah.
At 2, they're supposed to be learning independence so that when they're 30, they're not in therapy trying to set boundaries, right?
Yeah.
And
they're not doing dragon faces in front of the camera when they're 30.
Right.
Lucy, hang on. Could you hold on for just 1 second?
Let me pause here 1 second.
Yes, please.
All right, we're back. Okay. People didn't even miss us. Little bleep. Yeah, so we were talking about setting the expectations. When I have taught children's photography, one of the things I talk about is the stages of childhood and what you can expect and what you can't as a photographer, and why an 11-month-old is easier by far than a 13-month-old. And that why you should not plan to change clothes on a 1-year-old, but you can do it on a 9-month-old. So it seems like we're having similar experiences in that. Okay, so relaxing yourself, asking questions like what brings you joy, staying in your intuitive side so you can connect, some prompts, music, getting them in motion, allowing them to be themselves and setting those expectations with children. Is there anything else? I mean, that's a plenty, but anything else in how do we help people be comfortable and relaxed and, I guess, photogenic, or, get to that place where then we can get photographs that really capture their spirit? Any other?
I think the main thing is setting expectations from the beginning, from the first call, the first time someone's speaking with me. Right? That sets the whole tone for the experience through the repeat business later. Right. So that's that first call, when I'm taking that call, again, like you, we're just smiling right now. I'm smiling, I'm enjoying the conversation. It's all about them. How can I help them? And then when, if they have kids, it's setting the expectation of just let them be themselves. Don't expect them to stand still and smile in front of the camera. That'll happen later. It doesn't happen today. And, just the music helps. One of the other things that I recently put in my toolbox that might help your listeners is, there was a little boy who just could not focus and could not be still. And so his mom just started he was like 4, I think, really young. She started giving him math problems. What's this plus this? What's this times that? What's that minus? And so it made him stop. It made him stop and think. And boy, did I get a whole series of really cool portraits of this little kid. Right. And so I've been using that now. So if I thought, wow, that was a great tool. Yeah. In fact, I had a new client call and said, I'm calling you because you photographed my friend's family and you asked them to give math problems to help their son be still. I have a son and we can do that with my son too. That's great. So what a great referral. Now I'm the math photographer. Right?
Yeah. So one of my things that I came up with. So I'd say this falls in the category on our list of be creative. Think up things like, so this was out of frustration. I had a multiple generation family group, and I had several people that had a hard time. Like I'd pose them, I'd get one shot and then they'd move and I'd have to do it over again.
Right.
And so a couple kids that were inattentive. And like when I get the kids good, and this was filmed, so I couldn't just be like, okay, I'm going to get a few where the kids are good. Now a few where the parents are good. Now I'm going to put them together. I had to get it in the camera.
Right.
And I started singing the ABC song, but giving instructions. ABC, mom, look here. D, E, F, put your hands out of your mouth. And so then I keep that in my back pocket. And then sometimes I'll tell a story that's like, once upon a time, there was a little boy named, whoever the kid is, Charlie, and he had a beautiful mom named. And so it's similar to math because then they're paying attention to something.
Yeah. And then I think it's us as photographers just being in tune with what's happening around us. And when there is a good idea, stick that in your pocket.
Yeah. Do it again.
That worked once. Let's try it.
My other secret weapon is working on a tripod. Because then I'm interacting. Like, imagine having this conversation and I've got this in front of me and I'm trying to get emotion from you.
Right. Exactly.
Or you're, as a guest, you're holding up a camera in your face and I'm trying to read you and respond to you and connect with you. So now I don't always keep everything on the tripod at all times, but to be able to make faces, that's where the mirror neurons come in, is when I'm making a face, then people are responding to that face.
Exactly.
And also I'm paying attention to them, and looking through a lens is a little different aspect that, when I'm not looking through the lens, I can see little parts and refine them or make faces or play games that you just can't play. So,
right.
So fun that we can collaborate here with all of our tips from our experiences. And
right.
Yeah. And I get that the core is that you have a heart for people, and people understand that.
I think they just get it. Just the term that you used before, what was it?
Neurons, mirroring.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's the key. Because if we really enjoy what we're doing, I think that's so that clients can.
So one other little hot tip for people listening, because I love soulful expressions. I watched there's a series called The Great Masters or something on PBS. And one was the painter David, and the other was the sculptor Bernini, who did a lot of busts of people. And they both said a great piece of art of a person looks like they either are just about to say something or just did.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I love getting that when I look at the body of my work. You would say frequently that that's some of the best work. So with kids, I love a close-up, and especially it's sellable when they're sitting down and you're above them and you're shooting down, so they're looking up. I ask if they can see my eyes through the lens. What color are my eyes? Now, they can't probably, but they study and they think and they're looking, and then I get that heart-stopping moment that parents absolutely love. That's very tender and very attentive. So, So collaborative list we've got going here, because
I'm taking notes.
Good. Me too. All right. So let's see. The other topic that I wanted to touch on, because you do a lot of fine art photography. And the question is, what is the art you do for yourself? Or what was the good question on that?
Art for others.
Yeah, art for others versus art for you. So tell me a little your thoughts on that.
I've been asked several times, how would I advise artists, in their business? And so as an artist, we do art for ourselves. And that's really important. And so if your listeners want to have photography as a business, it's different. And it's okay to be doing art for others. It's not like you're compromising your integrity somehow by doing art for others. So what's attractive to me personally are things that are beautiful in nature. So it's plants, and a lot of people, plants and repeating patterns and architecture. And, there's certain things that are attractive to me, how light falls on something, right? And I thought when I first started photography, and if I was going to do this as a business, who would buy that? Well, probably people might buy that for their wall, and they might spend a little bit of money for it, right? But if I was going to make this a business, what kind of photography would most people who have expendable income invest in? And it's portraits.
Right.
And so that's when I decided, okay, it's my goal is to be a portrait photographer, and went to school to learn that, right? Went to school for 2 years, as I said, to learn portrait photography. So now it's taking the learning, I've taken from my own background as a business person, how to build a business. But if your listeners don't have that, it's finding a consultant like yourself. It's finding a consultant that can help them build the business. How do you generate leads? How do you find out who your target market is? How do you sell? And sell's not a bad word. It used to be a bad word for me, and it's a whole thing we can talk about, is selling, but it's, and then how do you price? And, how does what price does your quality of work bring at this point in your career? Right. So a consultant helps with that. So I've worked with a consultant for many years, and I keep thinking, well, next year I'll just do it on my own. And next year I always just come back, because there's always something that she brings to me and my business that I hadn't thought of. We don't know what we don't know. Right. So I would say art for yourself is important, and continue to do that. That's why I do personal projects. Those are just for me, like my Women of Wisdom project. That was just art for me. And it did turn into a book, and now it's in a museum gallery.
Awesome.
All these portraits are in the museum. So, it grew a life of its own, but it started out as a personal project, just something I wanted to do for me.
Do you think it improved your work? Do you think?
Yes, it did. And it actually helped me on my whole personal life journey.
Tell me about that.
So, when I was a kid, my father, and he meant well, I'm sure when he said this, but he said, if you can't do it right, don't do it at all. So how I interpreted that, what he meant by that is do your best. But how I interpreted that, as a kid and up until I was in my 60s, is don't try things that you might not be successful in. Don't take risks. Don't do anything that you don't know for sure that you're going to do well in.
That's a rough way to...
What is that?
That's a rough way to live life, because if you ever walk or ride a bicycle or English or learn to speak or cook or
right.
anything.
And perfectionism was what motivated me, right? So the perfectionist goal is what motivated me. So for this project, I'll step back. I come from a corporate background where you plan, you execute a specific plan, because change orders are expensive, right? So in a corporate world, you plan and then you execute. So I didn't know what I was going to do with this Women of Wisdom project, except that I wanted to honor these women and give them a gift of a portrait. That's all I had in my mind. But for a business, to step it further, I didn't know how to do any of that. So I didn't know how to put this in a book. I didn't know how to get this in a gallery. And my consultant said, why don't you just start? I'm going, I can't start. I don't have a plan. And she said, just start and ask for help. And I said, the other thing, asking for help meant that I didn't know what I was doing. So my whole life has been this imposter syndrome where I had to know what I was doing. I had to present myself as the professional, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was really scary for me to think someone might know that I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
And so here I am in my 60s, still thinking this way. So this project, I did. She said, bring in 2 people, photograph them, ask them for help, ask them for referrals. This whole thing grew exponentially. And the people that I asked for help were so kind and I'm grateful that I asked their opinion. So it turned my whole mind around, about business can be a process. It doesn't have to be serial steps. It doesn't have to be the check boxes. It can be an organic process, which is so new to me.
Yeah.
At my age, it's so new to me that, and that was such a great journey for me. So when I'm talking with other artists, it's art for yourself, for sure. Do that.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to do art for business, ask for help. Ask for help. Find somebody that can do what you don't know how to do, because there's no sense in reinventing the wheel. They already know. And when you look at the cost of a consultant, you think, how many clients do I need to bring in to pay for that? What's their return on investment?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So right away, what I pay my consultant every year, it's exponentially, I make so much more.
I agree with that.
See? And you're the one that can help, right? Absolutely. You're the one that can help them with that.
That's after, we were talking before we started recording, 30 plus years as a photographer. Mm-hmm. And I dabbled in coaching, not as a profession or formally, but I just was always available to mentor people. Uh-huh. And I realized I had this ability to help people get where they want to go, and taking that risk. I didn't, like you said, I didn't know how to do it. But what was so fun for me, because I'm a lifelong learner, and mm-hmm. I get a feeling you are too, mm-hmm. is the first conference that I went to that was around, it was called the Highly Paid Expert. And it was around mm-hmm. how you take your expertise and turn it into a business.
Right.
And it was so exciting to be in a conference with all new information, new notes to take, new things to learn, new questions to ask, because I've, since 1982, I've been sitting in conventions and classrooms and meetings and at lunch with friends talking about the photography business. Mm-hmm. So that was super fun. And yes, I've dealt with the perfectionism trap as well. Now, my dad said, do your best, but then he always would say DYB when we went to school. And I actually set that to mean I needed to be perfect all the time. Yeah, so I translated it, doing my best, until I read, have you read The 4 Agreements? Don Miguel Ruiz?
No.
So it's one of the most powerful personal growth books ever in the history of ever, in my opinion. And one of them is always do your best. But the subheading in that is, and your best is going to change from time to time. Like you just show up and do what you can where you are in the moment.
Yes.
Which is different than, I'm a high achieving personality, so I always have to be, excellent at everything. So yeah.
It frees you up to be creative. It frees you up to try things. And, it's in this project with the Women of Wisdom that evolved, because it started with just me wanting to honor women and provide them with a gift of a portrait. Mm-hmm. Right. And then as it evolved, it's become what it is today. And that's so new for me to think that I could do something in life that just evolves, right? That isn't pre-planned and, executed down to the letter.
Right. So, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good to have goals, and yet we don't know where they're going to head.
Yeah.
One of my, so I'd been in business many years and realized it was time to do something to contribute. Mm-hmm. And children are my heart. And I got the idea that there are foster kids ready to have forever homes that probably need photographs. And through a series of honest to goodness miracles, like being at the Del Mar Fairgrounds, and the 1 hour that the person that we've been trying to talk for 3 months happened to be at the booth for San Diego County adoption. They happened to be planning a calendar. They were taking bids, and I was like, is free a good bid? Anyway, so I got to do this project where I photographed those beautiful children with no parental
prompting.
Not prompting, but I didn't have a buyer. Like what I was selling was the children, not officially.
Yeah.
But I was just doing it in the way that I felt I could best capture their essence. And so I did my 35 millimeter instead of my Hasselblad, and I did black and white film. And having that permission again to photograph them from my own perspective and my art, really, then my photography for clients became better as well.
See?
And I landed a month after I was done, the biggest client I've had to date, the golfer Phil Mickelson. They called me out of the blue, and I was their family photographer for 8 years.
Oh, Lucy, that's great.
Yeah. So, and I think it was a direct, like, universe saying thank you. and the biggest reward, of course, was that of the 2 years I did it, all but one sibling group got homes.
Oh.
And I'm sure some of that contributed. But the point is, when we do things not for money, it can enhance what we're doing for our clients who are going to pay us. For me, I love photographing nature and scenery, and a lot of my portrait work with families, you could take the families out and it would still be a really lovely photograph.
Right.
So there's a marriage between my art and my for me photographs and my clients. Do you have something like that as well?
I had a thought that came to mind as you were talking, Lucy, that relates a little bit back to what you said, was when you were talking about doing just wanting to photograph for the sake of photographing, right? And it builds your your repertoire. Maybe takes your photography to another level. I like to. I'm in the community a lot. And I think part of building business, we talk about building business, is you just have to have people have to know who you are. They have to meet you and know you, know, like, and trust, right?
Right, exactly.
To call you. So I'm in the community a lot. I do a lot of donations for charitable organizations. I might go and do an event. I might not even ask to be paid. Right. And it's because I think it's just like you said, I think it comes back, it comes back to, well, that was really a neat thing I tried, and, that worked. And if I'm not getting paid, you can try a whole lot of things. Right.
Exactly.
And so being in the community, I think for your listeners is a point that would be important, networking groups, but also just charitable organizations. So I belong to organizations. They get to know me, and I go, oh, if they need a photographer, for a portrait for their family, then they know who to go to. Right. And another thing that I think has my main lead generation are silent auctions, which is a tip that can be helpful to your listeners. So when I'm thinking silent auctions, I'm doing something great for the organization. I'm giving them a portrait session for people to bid on, right? So they get the money that is being bid on. And the display is beautiful, right? So it's an attractive display at the auction. So people are attracted. They want to bid. They do the competitive bidding, and the organization gets, receives funds for that. But for me on my end, reciprocally, is these are pre-qualifying my clients. So my clients, they have to pay to be there. They pay for their plate, they pay to bid, right?
Right.
And so when they're coming to me, I know they have expendable income.
Right.
Right. So they're not going to be concerned about price so much. So, and part of what I do when I'm giving them their gift certificate is they get an art piece, as part of their gift certificate. So that's my cost, right?
Mm-hmm.
They come in, they've had a great session. They come in and they look at all these beautiful portraits, and it's rare that someone doesn't do a major purchase.
Right.
Right. So it's pre-qualifying and it gets people in the door for me. So silent auctions are awesome, but you got to be out in the community to know where they are.
Right. Right.
So
yeah. They're a foundation of my photography business as well, because unlike weddings, networking, there's so many great ways to get wedding clients. But people don't wake up on a morning and say, that's it, it's time for a family portrait. Like with a wedding, they're like, okay, now we need to get a photographer. So something like an auction item can definitely, if it's the right auction, the right presentation, the right follow through, because it can be a really big waste of time and even lead to tears if we don't do it correctly, right? But it's a great way to like jingle, jingle, jingle the bell of people like, I've been wanting a family portrait forever. Come on, honey, let's bid on this.
Right. So if your display is beautiful, it's attractive, it's engaging, that people will say just like what you said. And then on the business side, I have an automated process for the time I step back and say part of my donation is the understanding that the donation coordinator, the auction coordinator is going to provide me with the winner's contact information.
Yes.
Right. Otherwise, why am I doing it? Right. So business wise, why am I doing it? So, so from the time the auction is entered into my system, it's all automatic, all the follow-ups until I get the contact information for the winner. And then when put the winner in, they have 3 opportunities to get an email from me. And if they don't contact me by then, I'm calling them. Right. So, it's all automated. So my time, because I've done them for several years now, my time invested's not that much. Right. And it's very well put together because trial and error had me put that together really well. And my consultant, as would help me, help your listeners, figure out what that process would be.
Exactly.
Automate it and just have it. Right.
Yeah. We have to know how to take a hot lead and turn it into a great sale.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't just randomly suggest people, start doing auctions until they figure out their sales system.
Oh, definitely.
And such. But
and what to do with it.
What?
And what to do with the client, right?
Right. There's something else on that. Oh, here's what helped me survive the 2009, 2010 recession. I started doing a buy it now option. So I donate 10 certificates for a money value that will cover a session and enough for them to buy 1.5 8x10s. So there's money left over if that's what they pick. I don't focus on a size. And I attend the event. I do candids for the event coordinator to use for the future, however they want, to just send out to the guests. So I'm around, I'm schmoozing, I'm saying, hey, I'm a volunteer. My work is over there. I'm offering this. And so I promote it. And with one group, I got 25 signups 2 years in a row and 16 the next year. Like it was an ideal. It was children's hospital chapters. But instead of 1, I go home with potentially 6.
Right.
And if the 10 sell, I magically make another 10 appear.
Yeah.
And in order for the guests to see the photographs, they need to go to my website and click on my blog, and then they'll be able to see it. So it solidifies in the mind of the ones that have the certificates. Oh, she's good. She's a portrait photographer. I like her. She's professional.
And
So
if we're capturing their email, if we're capturing their contact information with your lead generator of your blog, right?
no,
But I'm saying if we can, then we have their contact information.
yes. And if I were smarter back then, I would have done that.
Well, I mean, for your listeners,
got them in my email, and there are just so many levels when you've got the ideal clients in your sites doing that. So the other beauty is I go home with the sign up sheet. So that Monday I'm calling them rather than waiting for the people to get back to me with that. So again, it can be tricky and it has to be the right place. There also, and I know you must have these in your area because there's this circuit in Southern California that's a charity gift boutique. Have you heard of that, Donna?
What is that?
So there are people who have garages full of stuff to sell, clothes, ceramics, purses, and they go to different boutique events. And when it's a charity, they give a percentage, like 20% of their sales goes to the charity. And like these happen, many of them are from your area that come down to San Diego. So I know it's happening around you. And so that's when I sell the gift certificates and all the money goes to the charity. And I end up being the highest contributor because if somebody sells, let's say $10,000 and they give $2,000, there's that. But if I sell 10 certificates, that's $5,000 to them. Or no. Well, anyway, I always end up being the one that puts the most cash in that charity's pocket. So it's a win-win. So
well, tell us more about these charity boutiques. How would your listeners find them?
I am not sure. I think you'd just Google and you'd ask around and yeah, I think like they fell in my lap. So, but if you found one and then you ask that vendor about other ones,
right.
Like the San Diego, one of the Children's Hospital chapters does a tea every year. And at the tea, they have this boutique. So instead of auction prices, they don't have an auction. They have raffles. And if you're in the show, you need to contribute something to the raffle, which I never end up booking that person because, they just won it. They weren't like seeking it. Anyway, so yeah, finding somebody that does that.
To that comment, to your comment, raffles are different than auctions. So I typically don't do raffles. As they do. Sometimes there's no cost to get into the event. And then even if there is, the raffle ticket may be $10, which is different than a $100 minimum bid on an auction.
And they may not be interested in photography at all.
And they might, because that's what the raffle is, but nonetheless, they may not have the disposable income. Right. That I'm looking for
yes.
my.
I also don't do baskets.
Yeah.
If it's an auction.
Right.
I because if somebody they tried to put me in a basket with baby stuff, which makes sense. But if somebody bid on it because they wanted those booties and they wanted that rattle and they wanted these other things,
right?
And somebody that wanted photography for the baby would miss out. And
sometimes that would get lost because if it's a certificate, right, it might get lost in the basket. Maybe just visually.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, gosh, Donna, you got to come down here and hang out. You're not that far from me. And we're obviously.
I was down in Del Mar just earlier this week.
For the races?
For the races.
Oh, fun. Did you have a big, floppy, pretty hat?
No, because this is the second year we've gone, and the people that we go with, are all about racing. I'm not. So it's all about, and she says, oh, no, that's only for opening day. I'm going, oh, thank you.
All right. Okay. So I have two quick questions before we wrap it up. Because, we're in the time to wrap up. So you have this lovely book. How do they find it?
For my website. And the reason I'm offering those on my website for people to own is that I like to write a personal message in them with my signature.
Okay. What's your website?
My website is Donna Edman-Photography.com, and Edman is spelled Edman.
Great. And it's also in the show notes, so you can go to the Profitable Photographer podcast or anywhere else that has the show notes connected to this. So,
right. And on my website, Lucy, it's there's a tab that says the book.
Okay.
So after you get to my website.
So head slap. I wonder what's in this. Oh, it's the book. So what would be either your parting thoughts, or if there's something that when we say adieu, you'd be like, oh, I wish I'd have mentioned that. So what do you got for me?
I just think it's important to, if you're an artist, it's important to know why you're doing your art. So is it for you? Is it for others? And to know it's okay to do art for others, to create things that they would want to purchase if you're planning to do a business. And also, if you're planning to do a business, you can't expect yourself to know how to do that. So ask for help. So whatever that means for you. Ask for help, or for your listeners, ask for help.
Love it.
Art for art's sake, and continue to do art for art's sake. But if it's art for business, art for others, then ask for help.
Yeah.
You'll get yourself so much further along, so much faster if you just get the expertise from people who already know how to do that.
I got it. All right. So a reminder to my listeners to stay tuned for my quick wrap up. And Donna, it's just been a joy to talk to someone that I feel like we've been walking a lot of the same path and learning a lot of the same things. And so thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure, Lucy. Thanks for inviting me.
You're welcome. And I lost my pause button. There we are. So stay tuned, everybody. Okay, let's have a little wrap up. Before I do, remember, if you would like to have a website review or have me take a look at your pricing and help you know what I think and what you might do to enhance it, just go to lucydumascoaching.com. You can either fill out the form or you can just set up a time on my calendar for a quick chat. I would love to chat with you. And so I loved sharing and chatting with Donna. A couple things that I learned after the fact is she's been she's won Portrait Photographer of the Year 3 times in a row at the Professional Photographers of Orange County. And that says a lot. And she's got her show in a museum. And so, yeah, she's got some good, hot awards and action. So we talked about how to put people at ease. That's our basic topic. And one of the things that she does is she helps people relax by relaxing and by getting to know people. She likes to use music. She likes to ask questions that evoke a feeling, like what gives you joy? And then the muscles in the face change when we think about what gives us joy. She likes to have some prompts. She'll get people jumping, spinning, moving around, getting their energy up, and that creates fun photographs. I shared about mirror neurons, so look that up. And we physically react to people and what they're doing, what their energy is, what their body, their face, their voice is doing. So, yeah. And she says to set expectations with parents, to let the kids be themselves. And from the first phone call, one of the reasons I believe in phone calls, and sounds like she does as well, is that we set a tone, we start building a relationship. Hard to do that with emails and texts. And we talked a little about art, and she suggested that we want to always be doing art for ourselves. And at the same time, it's okay to do art for other people in charge. And she recommends, which of course I recommend, getting support, asking for help, having mentors, getting involved in our profession. So that's it for now. And I'm sending a great big hug. And be sure to look at my new website. It's beautiful. I think I can't believe it took me this long to update. So, the lesson, the cobbler's kids have no shoes, the business coach needs to upgrade her website. So now I have. So that's it. And I'll talk to y'all later.
You have been listening to The Highly Profitable Photographer with Lucy Dumas. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please rate, subscribe, review, and share. To connect one-on-one and learn more about our coaching programs, just go to lucydumascoaching.com. Until next time, go have fun photographing and selling your work.